In small towns, silence often conceals horrors no one dares to speak aloud. And what Emily experienced that night became a nightmare she could never erase from her memory. Imagine going to a simple party, accompanied by a group of friends, and returning home carrying alone the weight of an indescribable tragedy, a crime committed before your eyes by people who seemed to belong to an obscure cult. This story is not just an account of real terror, it's also a reminder of how human evil can cross any boundary. If stories like this make you reflect, if something similar has happened near you, or if you know of cases the world should hear, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. You never know who might need a warning like this. It all began in 2005. Emily was 17 and the type to savor every second of the freedom adolescence allowed her, even if it meant breaking some rules. She lived with her parents and younger sister, Sarah, in a quiet town in rural Ohio. At night, she would sneak out her window for parties and bars with the help of older friends. Her family disapproved of her friendships, but Emily didn't care. She liked the feeling of belonging to something outside the monotonous routine she lived. That specific night, the phone rang around 8 o'clock. It was an invitation to a party at an isolated house. Emily didn't think twice. She dressed quickly, hastily applied makeup, put on her boots, and walked out. It took them about 40 minutes to arrive. The house was truly outside the urban area, closer to a small development. The party seemed normal. There was music, drinks, people talking and laughing. Emily drank, smoked, and spent time with a boy she had been interested in for a while. The night seemed too fun to end badly. At 1 a.m, Emily decided to leave. Jessica, a friend, insisted on accompanying her as a precaution. The two walked down an empty, dimly lit road. At a certain point, a man emerged from the woods. He wore a long, dark jacket, almost like a cloak, and held something that from a distance looked like a knife. In a mixture of adrenaline and terror, the two ran. Jessica screamed, "Run!" and fell behind. Emily ran with everything she had and, on impulse, didn't look back. What came next was silence. No voice, no footsteps, nothing. She fell, scraped her knees, and breathed with difficulty. She looked back again. No Jessica, no man. The empty road seemed to mock her distress. And that's when she made the wrong choice. She went back to look for her friend. Following drops of blood, Emily entered a dark forest until she spotted a faint orange light, a bonfire. She approached through the vegetation and found a group of men around the flames. Jessica was there, fallen, apparently unconscious or dead, near the bonfire. They wore dark robes, speaking among themselves in a language Emily didn't recognize. They began to undress her friend, and what followed was worse than any possible nightmare. The scene was perverse, animalistic, grotesque. Emily vomited right there upon seeing what they were doing to Jessica, completely helpless. Her body was dismembered and thrown into the flames. The cult roasted the remains as if performing an ancient ritual, a profane feast. Emily gathered the strength to leave, dizzy, dragging herself out of the woods until she reached the road again. From that moment until she got home, she couldn't remember exactly. The next day, Emily locked herself in her room. She told no one. She was in shock. Her parents thought she was just hungover. The nausea, vomiting, physical and emotional trauma remained hidden within those walls. Days later, the police located human remains in the clearing. They were Jessica's. After her family reported her disappearance, searches began that led to the confirmation. The community was in shock, but Emily, she recoiled. Fear, guilt, and terror of being the next victim silenced her. She knew from the beginning that more people were involved, and that some of those figures were known, close, perhaps even protected. News of Jessica's death was local headline, but no one ever truly knew what happened in the forest. The case was closed without leads. No suspects were arrested. Emily said nothing. In her mind, the chants, the screams, the crackling of those profane flames still echoed. She began attending religious services, seeking any way to cleanse what she felt had clung to her, a specter of horror. She never wanted to know about parties again, never again agreed to walk alone at night. Living became an exercise in permanent vigilance and introspection. It took years for her to be able to tell her own mother what she had seen. Only many years later, as an adult, married with children, did she decide to share a piece of the trauma. Her mother didn't know how to respond. She cried with her, hugged her, but the fear remained. And Emily still believed that the cult remained active, operating in the shadows, lurking, untouchable, silent. Similar accounts emerged from other cities in the following years, a disappearance here, a strange ceremony there, but nothing directly linked the story to the Blackwood clearing. Emily, however, knew. She could still remember the smell of smoke, the taste of bile, the feeling of the devil walking on earth. She moved to another city. As an adult, she carried the past with her, hearing crackles in the darkness of her mind. Sometimes, in the early morning, she thought she heard the chants. Other times, she avoided forests, clearings, invitations. Just the sound of footsteps on dry leaves was enough to paralyze her for entire minutes. Her husband knew there was something in her that wouldn't break, that always remained alert. But even real love couldn't erase the feeling that the story could still restart, any day, any time. Today, Blackwood is quieter than ever. The forest remains, unchanged, as if nothing had happened. But in that secluded spot, surrounded by fir trees, there's something that resists time. The cruel memory of those who survived, and the risk that this kind of evil, hidden and ceremonial, is still alive somewhere. Emily continues, always startled, without total peace, only with the certainty that she saw evil with her own eyes, more human than one can imagine, and survived to keep that secret. She avoids telling details, even out of fear of who might be listening. The cult was nothing more than a symptom of what many refuse to see, that true terror often is not a legend, but a practice, and that there are silent, remote, and forgotten places, perfect for hiding horrors. The clearing still exists, the nearby road too. Those who pass by don't imagine what's buried beneath the leaves. For many, it's just another bend in the road. For Emily, it's the belly of hell. These experiences are difficult to share, but even more dangerous to ignore. Emily lived something most would never endure, and prefers silence because she knows there are forces greater than fear. If you believe stories like this should be known, share this account, like it, and subscribe for more real and disturbing stories like this. The truth needs to be told, even when everyone tries their best to bury it.